Today we continue with our class Halachos of Brochos. Today class number 30. We start with Sefer Chofetz Chaim, and the big topic is the same many forms of gossip. Today's topic, committees and courts. The prohibition against speaking rechilus is highly relevant when committee meets to consider individual for a possible enrollment in a school, employment in a firm, or appointment to a communal or organization position. Whether or not the final outcome is in person's favor, it is forbidden to divulge the identity of anyone who expressed an opinion against the person. It is wrong for a member of the committee to tell the candidate, I was on your side, but I was overvoted by my colleagues. So basically, there is a vote, and 3 people, or 5 people, let's say, voted, and this person voted to accept him or his child into the school, whatever happened, right? Or give him a job, not to give him a job, some kind of board. And this person asked, so how did it go? And one person is not allowed to say, you know what, I was for you, but what can I do? My majority voted against him. Right? So this person, he knows who's in the board, so he can figure out who was exactly against him. That's the thing, and it's absolutely forbidden. The same would apply when Beis Din, rabbinical court, consider a case and comes to a decision against a party. It is forbidden for any of the judges to state that the ruling was unanimous, right? Or which judges sided with which party, or to say that I voted in your favor, but I was outnumbered. So there is, if it's only 3, so guess what? He was in your favor. So it's absolutely forbidden. So meaning the 2 others were against. For it is natural for people to harbor ill will toward those who rule against them. Okay, so it is absolutely forbidden. So basically, if it says here even to say that it was a unanimous ruling, meaning that everybody is against that person. Okay, so let's stop here. So we continue with Halachos of Brochos, and today is we're going to start new chapter, number 13, and it's a new chapter, new topic. The topic is when the bracha is I'm sorry, chapter 12. Sorry, and the topic is Be Motzi Others. Okay, introduction. Making bracha on behalf of someone else is called being motzi, literally discharging that person from the obligation. The person who is listening to the bracha, in order to fulfill his obligation, is stated to be yotzi, literally discharged from the obligation. For example, we're going to explain. For example, a person who makes a bracha prior to the sounding of shofar, motzi, the listeners. There is the congregation. The person listening, yotzi, the bracha obligation upon hearing the bracha obligation upon hearing the bracha. Okay, so in some cases we can include other people in our blessing for a mitzvah, like this example that they give of the mitzvah sounding the shofar. So you can sound yourself a shofar on Rosh Hashanah, and you can make a blessing. There is no problem whatsoever. You can do that, but it's proper, as we said before. Many times the honor of the king in a multitude of his people, right? So the more people involved in the mitzvah together, so the bigger is honor of the king, right? If king came and only his wife and his grandma came to meet him, so it's not big kavod for the king, right? But if he came, arrived at some city and 10,000 people or 100,000 people came to meet him, greet him, so that's as we understand much more kavod, respect for the king, right? So that's why some blessings, some mitzvahs we do publicly. So this guy, he's motzi, right? He's Motzi, meaning he's trying to include me, right, in his blessing. And I'm being Yotzi, I'm being included. And not included, they translate as discharged. So I'm discharged, so meaning I'm included in his blessing, meaning I'm discharged from making my own blessings. That's the thing. So Motzi is the one who is doing saying the blessing and doing the mitzvah, and Yotzi is the one being included. Okay, so same concept with the kiddush, right? So you do kiddush in your home. For example, we're always making kiddush for you. So he's head of the household, right? So he's making kiddush, and he include everybody in his kiddush. Okay. So, all right, continue. This chapter, in this chapter, we will discuss when and how to motzi others in Birchas Hanechanim. Commentary. This chapter deals only with Kars Hanechanim obligation. With regards to Birchas, 1 second. HaMitzvos, the bracha made prior to fulfillment of the mitzvah. Some of the limitation pertaining to Birchas Hanechanim do not apply. Okay, so what is Birchas Hanechanim? It means the blessing for the pleasures, right? Whether they be dry, whether they eat, drink, or smell. Okay, right? So blessing that we say before food, drink, and fragrances, right? So even though the same concept applies to other blessings, as we give original example with shofar, but now this book is about blessing over the food or fragrances on. Okay. In section A, we are planning to explain the principle of Shomeach Keno. A listener is considered as a reciter, which is the underlying reason why the bracha recited by one person and is effective for the listener as well. So this concept, I mean, before we start this section, so many times when you listen, it's like you said the blessing yourself. And I guess the most famous example would be repetition of Shmona Esrei. When you're in the synagogue, they repeat Shmona Esrei, the Chazan, Chazoras Hachat, right? And it was instituted because many people did not know how to pray, could not read, literal, right? No problem. So this repetition of the Chazan, and they would listen intently, right? Attentively, and they would say Amen. So it would consider as they pray themselves. Okay, section B deals with the condition necessary to be motzi others. Okay. In section C, we discuss the prevailing minchag that each person makes their own bracha. Okay, we're going to say. In section D and E, we discuss the many instances where it is appropriate to be motzi others and the conditions which must be met in order to do so. Okay, so let's start. So section A, being motzi others, it's rationale. The Talmud in Sukkah 38b sets forth the principle of Shomea Ke'oner. When two people intend to fulfill a mitzvah together, one may listen to the recital of the other, and it is considered as if he himself have said which he heard. So he just heard to somebody else, right? And they both of them have intention to fulfill the mitzvah together. So, and one person just intently listening, and it's considered as he said it himself, 100%. There is no difference. When a person discharges his bracha obligation through a principle of Shomea Koneh, the listening itself, without any verbal reply or acknowledgement, is considered as fulfillment. Therefore, even the listener forgot to answer Amen, he's nevertheless Yotzi. Okay, so the proper way is to say Amen, right? But if he did not, for whatever reason, he did not say Amen, so after the fact, so he's nevertheless Yotzi, so he does not have to repeat the blessing. So there are a few commentaries. So let's do from the beginning, and then we do these commentaries. When a person discharges his bracha obligation through the principle of Shomeach Kenoch, the listener itself, the listening itself, commentary. Even though the bracha is not valid, if one merely formulates the bracha in one's mind without actually reciting the words, under the principle of Shomeach Kenoch, it is considered as the listener himself actually recited the bracha. So, so we said before, when one formulates the bracha in his mind, it's not good. So you have to actually say it out loud, as loud as so you can hear yourself. That's loud enough, basically, right? So here, so they say, even though if you are saying bracha in your mind is not valid, but if somebody else says it out loud, it's like you said it yourself, right? And he did it without any verbal reply or acknowledgement, is considered as fulfilled. Therefore, even if listener forgot to answer Amen, he is nevertheless Yotzi. Yotzi meaning that he is discharged, meaning included in the bracha. Commentary. Since it is the listening rather than Amen which causes the listener to be Yotzi. So the listening to every word is what makes this person to fulfill his obligation. So basically, meaning listening to every word. So person who is doing, let's say, person who is saying Kiddush for the group of people, he has to pronounce every word separately, not be in a rush, so other people would hear him very clearly. If it's a big room, for example, or kids making noise and stuff like that, so he has to speak very loud and very clearly, so everybody would hear every word. Okay. Under the principle Shomeach Kenoch, if the listener fails to hear some of the words of the bracha, it is as he did not recite those words, and he is therefore not Yotze. Okay. Regarding being Motzi Others, who is listening on a telephone, see in another place. Okay. So let's try to understand before we get to another place. So it's very important when we actually were learning in our Shabbos class, one of the first classes, I think, right? When we did discussing the laws of Kiddush on Friday night or Shabbos morning, and we say what, and we're discussing. I'm not going to repeat what we said, but just the summary. So we're discussing which chapters are very essential. So if a person would speak during this chapter or during this sentence, that sentence, so in some cases, he would need to repeat Kiddush himself, right? So it's very proper to listen to every word intently when you want to be included in somebody's blessing. I guess Kiddush is a longer blessing compared to others, but still, or you can say it yourself, no problem. Continue. Similarly, if one speaks while listening to a bracha, it is as he spoke while reciting the bracha, and he is therefore not Yotze. Okay. So I mean, he's very clear. So if he spoke during the reciting of the bracha, it counts as he himself was speaking. So I say Baruch Atah. No, God forbid. I don't want to be the example. Somebody said, right? Baruch Atah Hashem, and he started talking about Steve was coming, not coming. You understand? So this bracha is not valid. So he would need to repeat the blessing from the beginning. Okay. So commentary regarding speaking, And the other interruptions, while reciting Brachos, see chapter. Oh, I'm sorry. It's on this page. Chapter 3. Okay, got it. Continue. Shomea Koner takes effect only when both persons join together for the purpose of making bracha. If either party does not want to join together, there is the reciter does not want to be motzi, or the listener does not want to be yotzi. The listener is not yotzi. This is discussed more in detail in B2 and C3. So basically, two things must occur. The person who is saying blessing must have a clear intention in his mind to include everybody, or at least this one person in his blessing. Or, for example, if I'm making Kiddush on Friday night, so I must have in mind that I want to include everybody that is sitting at my table, right? If they want to make their own Kiddush, it's their own business. But me personally, I have in mind everybody who's sitting at my table, and plus they must have explicit intention to be included in my Kiddush, right? So, for example, with the Kiddush, there are two different traditions. So one is the Sephardic tradition, when only one person is making Kiddush. Usually it's the head of the household, he's making Kiddush. Or if he wants to honor somebody, he can. If there is a big rabbi that is present, of course, it's proper to honor him to make a Kiddush for everybody, right? But Ashkenazi tradition, no. Ashkenazi tradition is every person. So we respect. We give the precedence to the head of the household. He makes a Kiddush, and then we make all the married people make a Kiddush for their families separately. Okay, it takes a little longer time, but it does not make any difference. Okay, so everybody answer amen. So of course we don't jump in front of each other. So we take turns. This person say Kiddush, everybody answer amen. Then that one said, everybody answer amen, and that's how it works. Right, but the Sephardic tradition only one. So don't. So when we come to Sephardic families, so we explain beforehand. So do not offend anybody. That's our tradition. Okay, that's how we do things. It's not disrespect anybody. That's just our custom. And so I always ask my guests, do you want to make your own Kiddush? I have not Kiddush cup. You want to do it? You can do it. There's no problem. Okay, whatever they want. But most of the people, I don't know, they're scared or this or that, I don't know, but they want to go with my Kiddush, which is absolutely fine. Okay. So we said it must be intention from two sides. The person who wants to include, and for the person, and from the person who wants to be included in a blessing. Under the principle of Shomea Koner, the listener is Yotzi by joining the reciter in making a valid bracha. Thus, the reciter's bracha is valid. The listener is not Yotzi. Just 1 second. Yes, sir. Generally said, making a valid bracha. Thus, is reciter bracha is invalid. The listener is not Yotzi. So very interesting. So if I want to be included in somebody's blessing, I expect that this blessing be a good blessing, right? So if he made incorrect blessing, not appropriate blessing for whatever he was making, so I don't want to be included in that, and I'm not. So I have to wait until he makes another blessing, or I just do it my own blessings. There is no problem. Okay. Section B, a requirement necessary in order to be Motzi Others. So now we're talking about leader, who is going to say, right? One may not Motzi Others unless the following conditions are satisfied. Okay, what is the condition? Commentary, 1 second. The halachas discussed in this section relate only to Birchas Hanechanim, meaning blessing over the pleasures, right? As we said, eating, drinking, and fragrances, stuff like that. Some of the restrictions mentioned here are not applicable to Birchas HaMitzvos. So Birchas HaMitzvah is like blowing on shofar. Okay. So what is the requirements? Number one. So he warned us already second time, so it's not the same. So don't learn one from another. Okay. The reciter must also be eaten. Oh, interesting. So that's very interesting. One cannot be Motzi Others with Berachos Chanechanim if he does not intend to partake the food or drink. For instance, one wants to eat an apple and ask his friend to be Motzi him. If the person recited the Brachot does not also eat the fruit, the bracha is invalid, and therefore the listener is not yotze. Okay, see footnote for exceptions. Okay, so it's very long footnote, so let's try to first understand. So first condition, so if I want to include other people in my blessing, minimum requirement that I also have to eat, right, or drink or whatever is. So if I said the blessing and did not intend to eat, and only other people ate, so I mean they're not allowed to eat basically. So the first condition that I have to do whatever I said blessing for with them, right? They cannot do it without me. Okay. Commentary. One who is not eating may, however, be Motzi Others in order to perform a mitzvah. For example, a wine for kiddush, provided that they do not know how to make the bracha themselves. So that's an exception, and we will learn it in our Laws of Shabbos class, right? So what did we say there? We say that the person can say as many kiddush as many times as necessary. So in the blessing, we said that I have a friend, very close friend of mine. So he used to work in a nursing home, right? So he used to work in a nursing home, and the people, weak people, and elderly people, and they cannot do kiddush, right? And I don't think that he ever worked on Friday, but whoever worked on Friday would go from room to room and make kiddush for different people, basically. But they would have to drink. So of course, he did not want to drink so much, even if it would be grape juice. Like he did not want to drink so much, but some of the people would have to drink. Maybe they could have split. Like 2 people drink required amount, 3 people, whatever, but somebody had to drink. So this kiddush is exception. So he would make a kiddush because they could not, for whatever reason, a health reason, right? But they would have to drink. To illustrate, one can motzi a person who is unable to recite kiddush or havdalah, even though he cannot or does not wish to drink wine. One of the listeners, however, must drink some of the wine. Right? So that's a good example. So Havdalah. Havdalah also, you have to drink the wine. We say blessing on the wine. Somebody have to drink it. The proper way, of course, as we learned in the Laws of Shabbos class, the person who recites must drink. Kiddush sometimes we give to somebody else. For example, if a person making kiddush in a shul, he does not want to drink, he does not want to fulfill his obligation, he wants to give to somebody else, there is no problem. But Havdalah, it's proper for a person to drink himself, but if he does not want, for whatever reason, and he's the only one who is capable to say Havdalah, so let him say and let somebody else drink. To further illustrate, one who has already completed his own Pesach Seder and eaten the afikaman may conduct the Seder for others who cannot do so themselves. Although he ate afikaman and is thus not permitted to eat and drink, he may nevertheless make the brachas on 4 cups of wine, karpas, matzahs, and more, to be motzi the participants, even though he will not be drinking or eating. So it's very interesting. So people they illiterate and they don't have, especially in olden days. I must mention that, especially in olden days, when they did not have translation to their own language and they could not read Hebrew, and especially without dots, nikudas. So actually, many Haggadahs were with nikudas. I'll take it back, right? But they didn't have in English and other in Spanish, and simply did not. Period. Right? So they could not do the Pesach Seder. So somebody would come who can say, and he would say the blessings, right? Even though he ate, he concluded his own Seder, right? And the halacha is as we read in Haggadah itself. So it's proper not to eat or drink anything except water after Afikaman. Okay, right? But this person actually, so he's not eating and drinking, but he can make blessing, so other people can do the blessing. So I think it's perfect example. Okay, continue. So we continue section requirements necessary in order to be Motzi Others. The reciter must also be eaten. It's first condition. Second condition, specific intent. A person making a bracha must have a specific intent to discharge the obligation of the listeners. There is to motzi him, to the listener. So okay, singular. There is to motzi him. The listener who must have a specific intent to have his obligation to discharge, there is to be yotzi. So as we said, 2 sides. Me as one who saying the bracha, I must have specific intent to include this person in my blessing, and he has to have a specific in mind to be included, specific intention to be included. B'diavad. So b'diavad is after the fact. It was not done. If either person did not have specific intent, even if the listener answer amen, right, it is questionable if bracha will be affected for him. So one more time, b'diavad. If either person did not have specific intent, so meaning me as the one who was saying, let's say kiddush, or him listening, or he did not have intent to be included, right? Even if he answered amen, he did answer. So amen is not, as we already said, amen is not essential. It's proper, but not the main part. It is questionable bracha will be affected for him. Therefore, the listener may not eat food without making new bracha, since according to one side, according to one side of the issue, his obligation was not discharged. So right, so he needs to make his own blessing. However, he may not make a new blessing, since according to the other sides of the issue, his obligation was discharged. Regarding what to do in the cases such as this, where making a new bracha is questionable, see chapter 16, section B. So we're not going to go to chapter 16, section B, but the simple way is to interrupt the blessing, right? To interrupt. So how do you interrupt? For example, if it's kiddush, so you do not eat after this questionable kiddush, questionable for you kiddush, right? So you go outside, walk around the block, come back, and now you did not make kiddush because you did not. You heard the blessing on the wine and all of these paragraphs that person said. Maybe he even sang it beautifully, but you did not eat, so your kiddush is not counted. So you must make a new kiddush. Plus, you did a legal interruption going outside. So you would need to make your own kiddush. Or another solution, just listen from somebody else. There's also a solution. Okay, so from somebody else who was not originally included in this original kiddush. Okay, continue. Condition number 3: sitting and eating together. Initially, one may not be motzi others unless all of the parties are seated and eating together at the same table. Right? So they have to be part of my party. They cannot just listen to Kiddush and go their own way. Shomeach keno takes effect only when all parties involved join together for the purpose of making bracha. This is accomplished by sitting together to eat, right? So if they eating with me together, together with me, so I can include. But if they like strangers, how are they eating in a different place? How can I include them? Regarding sitting together at the meal is not consists of bread. See section C. Okay, we're going to get to it. B'diavad, if the parties were not sitting together, or if the parties were all standing, okay, it is questionable if they yotze. Okay, so we're going to explain what's the problem. Regarding what to do in cases when making a new bracha is questionable, see chapter 16, section B. So exactly the same solution as we said before. So b'diavad, after the fact, if they are not sitting together, so meaning they sitting in different rooms, even, right? Or where the party was all standing. So what is the problem with all standing, right? All standing. Actually, when we say kiddush, so in most communities, we actually stand. Everybody stand. We don't see is anybody sitting and doing kiddush. Yeah, and some Ashkenazim, right? When they say kiddush, they actually do everything sitting. They do exactly. So all right. So they say, well, when people stand, I guess maybe you're talking about chamotzi, right? So meaning when you sit at the table, meaning that you're serious and you're going to eat and that's your place, that's it, right? But when you're standing, it's like this person who is making kiddush, he does not know, are you coming, you're going to stay, not going to stay? So he's a little confused. That's why the author is saying that you put yourself in a questionable position. Regarding standing while listening to Kiddush and Havdalah, see Hebrew note below. Okay, so Kiddush and Havdalah, so the different customs, right? So some people stand and some people sit during Kiddush and Havdalah. Okay, so this would not be cases that the author is talking about. That those are two exceptions. Continue. Number 4, bracha achrana. Right. Initially, one may not be motzi others. From there, bracha achrana requirement. The commentaries say excluding berachas hamazon. B'diavad, if one was motzi others, they yotzi their bracha achrana obligation. Okay, so let's understand what it says here. Bracha achrana is a concluding blessing, right? So the author is saying, so initially, it's not proper for people to be included in somebody else's blessing after the food, except Birchas Hamazon. So Birchas Hamazon you can say for others, it is true. But all other blessings, so everybody must say for themselves. Okay. Continue. Amen. Number 5, amen. After a person concludes making bracha, the listeners should promptly answer amen. B'diavad. Okay, so sorry, we're going to say in the previous bracha achrana. So but after the fact, if somebody made a blessing for others, and it will even not Birchas Hamazon, after the fact, they don't have to repeat the blessing. Okay, so now amen. So proper when you say the blessing, they answer amen. B'diavad, even one did not answer amen, he is still yotze. Okay, so he did not say amen, he's still yotze, so it counted as he made the blessing. Okay. as we said before, the listeners should not recite Baruch Hu Baruch Shmo while the listening to the bracha being recited. If in error they said so, it is questionable whether they yotze. According to new bracha should not be made. Regarding what to do in cases making new bracha, it's questionable. See chapter 16, section B. So it's proper if in all other blessings, for example, in the synagogue, when they repeat Shmona Esrei, so Chazan says Baruch Atah Hashem, and everybody answers Baruch Hu Baruch Shmo. So blessed is He, and blessed be His name. Right? That's what we answer this Chazan. But it's only when you are not being included in a blessing, right? It's just Shmona Esrei, right? But if you want to be included in somebody's blessing when he's making, for example, a kiddush, he said Baruch Atah Hashem, you just keep quiet because it is like an interruption. Okay. Continue. So continue part C. It says prevailing custom not to be Motzi Others. Okay. So except I guess Kiddush and Havdalah maybe. According to many poskim, one may not initially be Motzi Others unless they have explicitly joined together to eat meal consistent of bread. Okay. So many poskim say, okay, unless they eating bread together, it's not a regular meal and don't include others. According to this view, even if all parties are seated in the same table to have a snack or meal which does not consist of bread, initially one may not motzi the others. The minchag was to follow this ruling. Commentary: if one was motzi another in cases such as this, b'diavad the listeners yotze. So it's proper, one more time, if it's not bread meal, not to include anybody in your blessing, right? Unless that person cannot say blessing, he dies, he does not know, she does not know. So elderly person, sick person, of course, child. Okay, so you can say the blessing for them, no problem. But for other people, not proper. So they should say the blessing for themselves. After the fact, they can eat. There are, however, many instances in which it is appropriate to be motzi others, even when they're eating food other than bread. See section D. Okay, we're going to get to it. Furthermore, even in situation when all parties are explicitly joined together at the meal consisting of bread, the prevailing minchag that each person makes in own blessing. So basically, so we all went and washed our hands, and we sitting around the table, and the head of the table, head of the household, made the blessing. Okay, and he started cutting the bread and passes the bread around, right? Challah, pass it around. So I got the piece of bread. So now I'm going to make my own blessing. So in some circles they would not do it, but we always say our own blessings. That's we're going according to this opinion. Okay, so and it's not offensive. It's not like I disrespect the head of the household. It's not. That's the most prevalent mincha, to make your own blessing. I mean, maybe he was thinking about his job, maybe this, maybe that. How do I know? So I better have my own blessing. So, but of course, we give priority, we answer amen, we respect and everything. Even though it is technically preferable for one person to make the bracha on behalf of the others, rather than for each person to make his own blessing. Nevertheless, the minchag is that each person makes their own blessing. Okay. So let's read the commentary. The reason Berov Am Chadras Melech, right, by appearing in a multitude before the king, the subject honor him. So as we said, the more people, the more honor to the king. in a show of great splendor, right? In a show of great splendor, the more people do the mitzvah together, whatever Hashem said, the more glory to the king. It says in Mishle 14:28. Chazal derived from this passage that when many people are planning to recite one bracha and read one text, the optimum way to perform the mitzvah is a single large delegation. By delegating one person to perform the mitzvah on behalf of the group. So he's saying, let's say, Megillah Esther out loud, and I'm being included. It is as if one large group is performing the mitzvah rather than many separate individuals doing so. Right? It is preferable. Okay. The more people yotze with one person's bracha, yotze meaning included in one person's bracha, the more splendor is demonstrated in the performance of the mitzvah. Okay, very clear. So one more time the whole sentence. Even though it's technically preferable for one person to make a bracha on behalf of the others, provided that all requirements discussion section B are met, okay. They intend to be included, he intends to include them, and he's going to eat with them. Rather than for each person to make his own, his or her own bracha, nevertheless, the minhag is that each person makes his own bracha. Okay, that's what we said. One reason given to explain the emergence of this minhag is that in recent times, people have become less. It's so true. In recent times, people have become less attuned to having specific intent while reciting reciting or listening to the bracha. Having specific intent in one of the requirements of being Motzi Others, other person, is discussed above session beto. So why we say, okay, if we say that the glory of the king in a multitude of people perform the blessing, so the mitzvah, why would we say that only, so everybody have to do it by themselves? Because people, as I explained, they cannot concentrate, they cannot have specific intent. So sometimes you talk per person, and if he's I don't know, if the person does not eat kosher, he's not learning Torah, and have other wasting seed and stuff like that. So it's very easy detectable, right? So person cannot keep one line of the conversation. She jumps or she jumps from topic to topic. It's so noticeable, right? That there is a problem. There is a deeper problem with it than just not able to keep the conversation, right? So how I can rely on a person like that to have intent to include me, even if I'm sitting 2 feet from that person, right? Most of the time cannot rely. Okay. So that's why the minhag is so everybody say it by themselves. But of course, we give respect, everybody quiet, and listen to the head of the household. There is no question about it. Okay, section D, where it is appropriate to be Motzi Others. Okay, 1 second, so let me check time. Motzi Others. Okay, Baruch Hashem, we have time. Motzi Others. Number one, bracha requirement is questionable. So that's what we said. There is one of the solutions when you're not sure, when you cannot continue, start eating because you're not sure that you are included in this blessing, right? And you cannot make blessing because maybe you were included and now it's going to be extra blessings, right? So in this case, there's somebody else to be included in his blessing, right? So that's solution number one. Where it is not solution, that's take it back. It's scenario number one where it's appropriate to be Motzi Others. Okay, when a person is unclear, uncertain if the bracha is required, it is proper to ask another person to be Motzi him with the bracha. Such cases include A, right? So if you're not sure, so ask him, or maybe the time passed, maybe I went out, maybe I did not go out, all this question. One who cannot remember whether he has already made the bracha. That's a big one. So person is not sure if he already made the blessing. He cannot say another one because it's like blessing can wane. Okay, number two, one who is uncertain if the bracha is made is still valid. Okay, as we said, maybe time already passed. For example, one made the bracha on the previous cup of coffee and now wishes to drink a second cup, but cannot remember if he had made bracha achrana. So after blessing, not sure. Maybe yes, maybe no. So he basically, if he had after blessing, after the first cup, so he would need to make the prior blessing to the second cup. But he does not remember, that's the issue. Since he may not make a new blessing, and it is questionable if his original blessing is still in effect, he may ask someone to motzi him. Okay. That's a perfect scenario, right? Not sure. So in order not to say blessing in vain, just ask somebody so that person is going to include you. One who is uncertain, so it's next scenario, C. One who is uncertain, if the item he wishes to eat was covered by previous bracha. Okay, so something that we're not sure if it's covered by previous blessing. Maybe it was in the refrigerator, maybe it's this type, that type, so there are many instances. So let's see. For example, one made the bracha on apples and subsequently wishes to eat a pear. Okay, but isn't certain if the bracha covered the pear. Using one bracha to examine multiple food discussed in chapter 7. So we said if they were in front of him and or he usually eats this and that, so they include. There is, if at the time he made the bracha on an apple, he intended to eat a pear, or there were pears on the table in front of him. The pear was covered, and he may not make another blessing on a pear. Okay, so if it was in a fruit bowl in front of him, or it was in the refrigerator and he meant to eat it later, after he finished apple, no problem, it is included. However, if he had not intended to eat additional fruits, and nor were the pears in front of him at the time he made the bracha, the pear is not covered, right? So he said, okay, I'm too full, I just want to have this apple and that's it. So in this case, if a pear, even if it's in front of him, is not covered. Since he is uncertain as to what his intention was, he can neither eat pear, right? It might not have been covered, nor may he make a new bracha. It may be bracha levatala, meaning extra bracha, unnecessary. So he's in this situation. He may ask someone who is about to eat fruits to be motzi him. Meaning in this case, questionable case, so he asks somebody else to include him in his blessing. D. If he's uncertain whether the food he wishes to eat is in the middle of the meal, was exempt by birchas hamotzi on bread. Right. So, for example, okay, here's the example. For example, if food is eaten to whet one's appetite, it is considered part of the meal and does not need a bracha. Okay. One wishes to eat a melon and is uncertain if it is halachically considered the appetizer or not. Okay. Since the bracha is required, requirement is uncertain, he may ask someone else to be motzi him. So he's a melon. So if it's to whet somebody appetite, so it's part of the meal, regular part of the meal. In this case, it would be covered by birchas, by blessing on the bread, right? But if it's not, so we said clearly that all of these fruits and this vegetable, it's a dessert. So on the dessert, we have to make a separate blessing. Okay, part number 2. For a mitzvah requirement, even though the minhag is that each person makes his own bracha, the minhag does not apply if the food is being eaten as a part of the performance of the mitzvah. So one more time, mitzvah requirement, even though the minhag is that each person makes his own bracha, the minhag does not apply if the food is being eaten as a part of the performance of the mitzvah. Commentary. Furthermore, where the food is required as a part of the performance of the mitzvah, certain restrictions do not apply. See footnote G. Okay, so we're going to see what we're talking about. Applications, right? So if it's a mitzvah, when people are obligated to eat, I guess like a what is it? Circumcision, stuff like that. So it would be like exception. Okay. Applications. A. Boreplicha gefen on wine used for kiddush, chavdala, for birchas hamazon. The 4 cups of wine at Pesach, Seder, and for the birchas irusin and nisuin, the wedding brachas, which are made under the chuppah. Okay. So in this case, all of the people being yotze, right, being included in this blessing. So one more time, when somebody is saying kiddush, everybody is included. Havdalah, everybody is included. Birchas hamazon, okay, everybody is included. Or these 4 cups of wine on Pesach, right, and this blessing under the chuppah. B, next one. Birchas hamotzi on matzah and barecha pericha adama on karpas eaten at the Pesach Seder. So there are two extra blessings. So people are also included. Okay. So part number 3. So number 2 was mitzvah requirement. Number 3, lechem mishnah on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Okay, that's very easy. So okay, they're going to explain. On Shabbos and Yom Tov, it is proper for one person to be motzi the others at his table, even if there is a separate sets of lechem mishnah for each person. So lechem mishnah, just to remind, that's two challahs that we should have for each meal on Shabbos and Yom Tov, right? So usually people have only one dinner roll, if they do have. It's most likely somebody would have challahs and they would cut it in pieces and pass to everybody, right? So it's not lechem. I mean, you can make a lechem mishnah out of those 2 slices, it is true, but of course it's proper to be included in somebody else who have whole big challahs. Okay. Although technically the birchas hamotzi is not considered as a bracha to fulfill the mitzvah, it is not like the wine used for kiddush. Right? Nevertheless, the minhag in most places that on Shabbos and Yom Tov, the head of the household is motzi others with birchas hamotzi. So since it is a mitzvah, so they say people are included. It's not every time like that, but people who go by this tradition, they can somebody to rely upon. So and maybe even if you think that this person is going to get offended, some people are very sensitive and in the wrong places, and they get offended when somebody say another blessing. So number 4, unable to recite the bracha. If persons cannot recite the bracha properly, it is appropriate to have another person motzi him. Well, somebody is weak, somebody is sick, or I don't know, right? So you can motzi him. Okay. Number 5, brachas which people find themselves compromising on. Brachas which people find themselves compromising on. So let's see what does it mean. Reciting an ala mechiyah or aloates from the memory can at times be difficult. Often people discover that the siddur is not readily available, and they have to make a bracha achrana. For example, he ate a snack shop in a snack shop at the office or on a run, and they find themselves compromising on the quality of the bracha achrona. That is, by leaving out words or entire phrase. In this instance, in instances such as this, it is preferable for one person to recite the bracha, and for all others to quietly repeat the words word to word after him. So about this blessing and Allah Michiyam, Me'am Shalosh, right? All these blessings. So it's proper. So if you don't remember, just make a photocopy or write on a piece of paper and put it in. For men, put it in a wallet and put wallet in your pants, and that's it. So you can have every time, or wherever you go, you have this blessing. But if you're not outside, you're not at your office, you're at your house, you have a siddur, right? So there are always solutions. Okay. Okay. So, but if he does not have, and now he's going to start skipping phrases. So we say, take it easy. We're going to one person say for everybody. Okay. So continue. If one is not practical, if this is not practical, someone who can recite the bracha, meaning that he is saying the blessing and they repeat after him word to word. Okay. If this is not practical, someone who can recite the bracha properly should be motzi those persons who cannot make the bracha properly, right? If this is not practical, someone who can recite the bracha properly should be motzi those persons who cannot make the bracha properly. Okay, so they cannot say elderly people who do not know. So just include that. So commentary. We have learned that usually one may not motzi others from their bracha achrona requirement. In this case, however, the Paskim rule that it is preferable to be motzi the others who might otherwise be making invalid bracha achrona. So if somebody elderly person he does not know, so better you include him or her in your blessing than them they say some gibberish. Okay. Continue. Similarly, in a situation that people might compromise on the recital of Birchas Hamazon, it is preferable for one person to bench and for the other person to repeat words after him. If this is not practical, he may motzi the other person. Okay. Note with regard to zimun, so okay, here's the explanation. The requirement for 3 or more persons eat together, to bench together. The person leading the benching should recite at least the first bracha from the beginning of benching until Chazon es Hakol, right, out loud, and the others should quietly say the words word for word along with him. Okay. So the leader says and we respond. Even if everyone can recite the Birchas Hamazon properly, nevertheless, in order to fulfill the obligation of Zimun, so Zimun it's 3 more people, adult males, right? The first bracha must be said together word for word. Okay, at least first blessing word to word. However, the others should recite the ending of the bracha before the leader in order to answer amen to his blessing. Okay, so even though we say exactly the same thing, they have to finish before me so they can answer amen to my blessing. Okay, and the last section, one may be motzi others. Who may motzi others? Number 1, men. A male over the age of 13 may motzi other men, women, and children. Okay, so we can stop here. Oh no, I apologize. Whoa, we don't stop here. We continue. Number 2, women. A female over the age of 12 may motzi a man, a woman, or a child. She may not be motzi a group of men, but may motzi a group of women. Commentary. This applies to Birchas Hanachanim, obligation. She may not do hamotzi, she may not be motzi man, in most instances, from benching. And from Birchas Hamazon obligation. See Shulchan Aruch. Okay, so about regarding women, if the obligation is on the same level, you're going to get to Birchas Hamazon, right? If it's for example, me and women are on biblical level, so she can include me. If my obligation is biblical, but her obligation rabbinical, she cannot include me. But if my obligation goes to rabbinical, and we're going to explain when we go into that why. So in this case, she can include me. So a woman can include men in some situation, women, and or a woman or a child. She may not was a group of men, but group of men she cannot. But May Motzi group of women. Okay. Number 3, child. A boy under the age of 13, girl under the age of 12, may not Motzi adults. Because why? Same explanation. The obligation is only rabbinical, but for adults, most of it's only a rabbinical. Apology. For the children, it's only a custom to say that, whatever this blessing. But for adults, it's most of the blessings are rabbinical level. Still, it's higher than the custom. Okay, so we can stop here. Any questions, comments? Go ahead. Okay, no problem. So next topic is when bracha is not required. So I wish you all good Shabbos, and until next time, Be'ezrat Hashem Monday. Thank you.
Thank you. Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos. Bye-bye.